With Final Fantasy XVI releasing this Thursday, I figured it'd be best to give you guys some news and updates that I thought were important and they caught my eye from over this past weekend. But before we continue, the footage I'll be using will be from past trailers and my gameplay from the demo. So you consider these spoilers and consider this a first-hand warning. So to start things off, it seems like some people have gotten their hands on Final Fantasy XVI copies ahead of its release date, and they've been spoiling important story elements. As a result, Square Enix has released a statement saying, quote, "We're aware that a small number of physical copies of Final Fantasy XVI are being circulated. We are in the process of a thorough investigation into illegitimate acquisitions and are acting to limit this ahead of the official launch game on June 22nd. End quote. My advice to all of you is to avoid comment sections, reply threads on social media, and maybe avoid platforms like Twitter altogether. Maybe find a way to also filter out some search terms, anything within those lines. I personally have already had to delete a couple of comments from my demo impressions video, but don't worry, I'm keeping an eye out for you guys. I have the notifications on my phone turned on, just in case. But keep in mind that this isn't 100% reliable, so again, best to avoid comment sections. Moving forward, Square Enix have received some feedback from the demo, and I want to go over some of the comments that they made. Shout out to @DreamBoom, God, I am butchering this name and I am so sorry, on Twitter for making these updates accessible. I'll be honest, some of these aren't big deals to me, but they're relevant to FF16, so it's good to go over them. The first feedback is about cutscenes. Apparently, some people said there were too many and that they're too long. Personally, I don't see the problem with this. I mean, it's a Final Fantasy game, and I'm expecting exposition in a story-driven title. Either way, Yoshida stated that it's mostly in the beginning of the game, again, like most Final Fantasy games, and that it should be more balanced afterwards. Next is directed more towards the Japanese audience. While the voices can be changed to Japanese, the lip sync will remain with the English lip sync. The dev team is recommending their Japanese audience to play in English with Japanese subtitles. If I remember correctly, FF16 was voiced in English first, so perhaps that has something to do with it. On the other hand, Final Fantasy VII Remake has English and Japanese lip sync, so again, I'm just unaware why this took place. This kind of reminds me of when Final Fantasy X had English voice acting, but the lip sync was still in Japanese. Anyway, that's besides the point. Afterwards, people have addressed that combat feels one note. Square Enix said that the combat won't feel so streamlined after the opening chapters. Again, this is something that's kind of like an empty complaint to me. First off, it's the beginning of the game, and I think most action games are pretty streamlined in the opening sequences. Also, the second part of the demo is more combat focused, and it didn't feel streamlined at all in my opinion. I also have a gut feeling that people forgot to unequip the accessories that make combat easier, but whatever, let's move forward. The fifth feedback is about a lack of a mini-map. The devs confirmed that they want the players to look at the world around them instead of a minimap. In my view, I like this because I personally tend to stare at a minimap rather than the actual world. I think a compass is good enough so I can be fully immersed in the world that they created. Furthermore, the game was dark for some players, including myself, I won't lie, but it's because the game is optimized for HDR. If you don't have an HDR monitor or TV, then simply bring up the brightness in the in-game options or just on your TV or monitor. Streamers are encouraged to use HDR for their audience, but again, they can also just turn up the brightness. Next up, Noisy Pixel reported that there will be some post-launch updates which include considering adding more button binding options, which is good for someone like me who plays Soulsborne games. My muscle memory kept having me use circle to dodge. Yes, I know that there's an option to switch it in the in-game menu, but it also switched some other mappings that I wasn't a fan of. There will be an improvement on some frame rate performance, and everything else I listed earlier. I'll leave a link in the description box in case you want to check out the rest of the article. Now I don't know why some people waste their time in trying to see the post-launch update as some kind of own. Some outlets stated that Final Fantasy XVI will launch without a day one patch. However, on May 22nd, 2023, Game Informer interviewed the Final Fantasy XVI director, Hiroshi Takai, and the article stated, quote, "As of right now, we won't be downloading a big patch on June 22nd when the game hits on PlayStation 5. However, Takai notes that CBU3 is testing the game daily and searching for bugs, and things could change as a result. But right now, like in the days of old Final Fantasy, this entry should work entirely as expected out of the box." End quote. Now I'll admit that Square Enix may have acted preemptively and not anticipating a day one patch, but they still never guaranteed it, and the patch is only 300 megabytes, so again, it's just not a big deal to me. I'll leave a link to the Game Informer article in the description box below. To finalize this segment, other articles have confirmed that FF16 will have a new game plus with harder monsters, and other sources have stated that Final Fantasy XVI will have an equivalent Devil May Cry 5 Bloody Palace mode, which is basically a combat run with a bunch of floors that have monsters to fight. That being said, I've only seen tweets about this quote-unquote Bloody Palace mode, and I haven't seen an article yet to confirm this. If you find anything, please put it in the comments below. Well, I hope you guys found this information helpful and are excited for Final Fantasy XVI as much as I am. My next video should be a full review on Final Fantasy XVI. Give me some time though, since I'm kinda new at YouTube, I obviously didn't get a review copy. I mean, come on, I only have, what, 149 subs? Shit, I wouldn't even give me a review copy with that amount. But you guys can actually help with that by subscribing and hitting that notification bell. I want to see this channel grow and build a community in the process. I like to make lore discussion videos of my favorite games, especially JRPGs. I also review retro games, modern games, and just like this video, I'll make updates on games that I'm looking forward to. I'm recording for a Final Fantasy VII video leading up to Rebirth, a Silent Hill Halloween video, you get the drift. Until then, feel free to like the video and comment below for the algorithm. Just don't look at the comments and replies in case of Final Fantasy XVI spoilers. Thanks again, take care, and have a good one.